Am I the asshole for sending my stepsister back to her room instead of letting her sleep with me? This happened last weekend. My dad and his wife, Sandy, were attending a wedding last weekend and hired a babysitter for my stepsister Abby. I was supposed to do it, but I work now, so they had to hire someone to stay the weekend with Abby. The background is simple. Dad and Sandy met 4 years ago. I met her 3 months after my dad did, and Abby like a week later. Abby suffers from nightmares pretty frequently. She would always seek someone out at night when she had them, usually her mom, though sometimes me, and I would always send her to her mom. This has been happening since she was 3. So my dad and Sandy left Friday afternoon and were gone until Sunday afternoon. Friday night Abby had a nightmare and came to me and asked to sleep in my bed. I sent her back to her room and woke the babysitter who sat with her for a while. Abby was really upset about it and didn't sleep well that night and didn't sleep at all Saturday night. When my dad and Sandy got home, they were furious with me for not letting Abby sleep with me. Dad told me he's aware I don't see Abby as my sister, but wouldn't I let a small kid sleep with me to help them after a nightmare? I said no. I would not be comfortable with that. He told me it's something I should get comfortable with for Abby's sake, so she can have a good brother to rely on. I told him that was not something I was going to work on. That other than Abby, I doubt I will ever be asked by a kid unless that kid is my own, and that will be different. Sandy said it was my job to help her kid and that I made last weekend hell for her daughter. All week Dad and Sandy have been pissed about it. My mom died when I was 6 and I don't have extended family, so I haven't been able to talk about this with anyone. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. The adults here don't get to leave a 3-year-old all weekend and be pissed that you, a child yourself, didn't look after Abby the way they wanted you to. Not the asshole. You're creating healthy boundaries whilst still being a good big brother who cares. She will need to learn how to sleep on her own eventually. It isn't your job to parent their kid only to be a good human. Which you've done. Not the asshole. You are 16 years old. You should not be sleeping in the same bed as a 3-year-old. Maybe it would have been nice, but I can see why you would be hesitant to allow it. You are reinforcing a healthy boundary for a sibling to have. Sandy said it was my job to help her kid. Bullshit. Even if she was biologically related to you, that would not be your job. If it makes you uncomfortable, they shouldn't be forcing it. Not the asshole. You have work. School will be starting back up. You don't need your sleep disrupted by a child with nightmares. I feel sorry for the kid. Doesn't mean I'd let her sleep with me. Have they ever even done anything to find out what is causing it? Not the asshole. You are not the child's parent. If they were so concerned for the well-being of their child, they would have taken her with them. You didn't make her weekend terrible, and that's a shitty thing to put on you. You should be kind and caring to her as she's a child, but you don't owe her anything beyond that. Not the asshole. You have a boundary and you held it. That's good. And it's not like you let Abby just handle it herself, you got her support that she needed by waking the babysitter. Not the asshole. No one has the right to demand physical or emotional closeness from you. Just make sure you aren't mean to her, it's not her fault either. Not the asshole. Look man, these days you need to avoid any appearance of impropriety. They hired a babysitter, and the babysitter can do that. This is one of those Dateline things waiting to happen, where 20 years later, she'll remember a traumatizing event, being in your bed, and then her memory will associate those things and you'll be the bad guy. I don't blame you. It's unfortunate for the child, but it's also not your problem. Nope, not the asshole. You're 16, and not Abby's parent. There is no way you should get comfortable with Abby wanting to climb into bed with you for Abby's sake. That's not your role in the family and it's not your responsibility. What should be happening is that Abby is taken to therapy to work on why she is getting nightmares. Or if it's that big of an issue, then your dad and Sandy should not have gone away or should have taken Abby with them. Not the asshole. I would have done the same thing in your shoes at 16. This wasn't unknown to them, they should have let the babysitter know. What happened is on them. Your stepsister is their responsibility, not yours. While helping her out from time to time would be okay, they seem to be asking a bit too much in this regard. Sandy said it was my job to help her kid and that I made last weekend hell for her daughter. Not the asshole. Too bad. Sandy is old enough to start learning who is and is not going to cater to her. Sending her to the babysitter was correct. Even had there been no babysitter, it would have been correct to escort her back to bed with the caveat that you would ensure she is well settled. Not the asshole, you said you were not comfortable with her sleeping in your bed. End of story. They are so upset about the small child they are missing the older child's boundaries. If she's having regular nightmares, they need to look into this. Could you have sent her back to her bed and sat with her a while? Sure, but for them to go so OTT is not fair. Not the asshole, your parents are angry because they feel guilty for going away when your stepsister needed them, but it's not your fault they did that, and nobody should be forced to share a space as intimate as a bed with anybody they don't want to. A reasonable compromise might have been you sitting with your sister in her bed until she fell asleep again, but there was another person in the house who was paid to take on that job, so it's up to you if you want to do it, and you shouldn't be getting grief for deciding not to. Not the asshole. Please keep setting healthy boundaries and start saving money just in case they kick you out. I wish you all the best. OP, I am a stepmom. My stepson is 16, his half-brother is 8. I have never expected my stepson to allow his brother to sleep with him. Ever. If stepson wanted to and offered like a sleepover, then fine. But, nightmares are a grown adult's problem to handle. And, as my 8-year-old sleepwalks, that isn't something I would put my 16-year-old through, at all. Your dad is wrong. Full stop. They need to be doing more to work with her to get her comfortable realizing they are just nightmares and it's safe to go back to sleep, in her bed. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You told her no, but it isn't like you left her alone and terrified. You did the right thing and woke up the person that your parents hired to watch and care for her for these exact sort of reasons. No one can force you to have a relationship with this little girl. And it isn't that you don't want to. Sure, maybe you could have set up with her, but you still did not need to let her sleep in your bed. You are a teenager that is uncomfortable having a child in your bed. Hold that boundary, friend. Not the asshole, you're 16. She's 5. Taken out of context, this would be all kinds of dodgy and skeevy, especially since you're not blood relatives, and it strikes me as somewhat concerning that your dad is trying to force this on you. And for your stepmother telling you it's your job to care for her kid. No. It's her job as the parent. I'm sorry, but if your dad expects a 16-year-old male to sleep with a 5-year-old girl, it wouldn't be comfortable for you at all. Not the asshole. Your parents are ours. Sleeping with your stepsister makes you vulnerable to accusation and misunderstandings. If you are willing, you could ask them to put a mattress on the floor next to her bed if they go away again. I am so sorry that you are subjected to this injustice. They are trying to project their guilt onto you. They are 2 adults and it must be hard to speak up for yourself. Good luck. As long as you were nice about it, not the asshole, you're entitled to be comfortable in your own home while sleeping. Not the asshole. Abby has problems that they are not addressing. And when Abby goes to school and tells her teacher mandatory reporter that she sleeps with her big brother, what then? Not the asshole, imagine you did let her sleep with you. Then suddenly you're in a bad position because someone finds it inappropriate. Honestly, this is why I won't change diapers unless it's my kid. Not even my kid's cousins on my wife's side. I'd rather someone be pissed I didn't then in jail call